I caught up with Jared Yanis at the recent GOA Leadership Summit for a quick interview, and stick around at the very end for some off-camera conversation about the great state of Tennessee. Hi, my name is Todd Hendricks, and I'm the owner of People First Coaching and Consulting. I am a leadership coach, consultant, trainer, and speaker. With over 20 years of experience in public education, business, and various ministries, I help people become the leaders they were meant to be. Many of you know Jared from his YouTube channel, Guns and Gadgets, where he discusses Second Amendment news and law. He is also the co-owner of Blackout Coffee. Jared has over 20 years of law enforcement experience and is a sought-after Second Amendment speaker throughout the country. All right, great. Thanks. We are here with Jared Yanis, and I'm just going to ask Jared some quick questions. Jared, what outcomes would you like to see from this leadership summit?
The biggest thing I would like to see is that people need to understand that we the people mean something, right? We the people have the power. As we move into an election season, we the people have to be involved. We have to become leaders of men and women and just help people understand the truth. Just got off of a panel called Fact versus Fiction, and that is a huge thing. Like the anti-gunners, the left, the people who want to take away our rights, they're preaching emotion. And we need to break through that. And part of coming here is hopefully going to teach more people that they are part of the fix, that they can actually be a voice for the community. And if we can empower more individuals who can go out and empower individuals on their own side, we're going to be unbeatable.
Well, and that kind of flows into my next question is, as leaders now, what can we do for the next generation of Second Amendment leaders and raising them up?
Dude, get involved. Everybody out here is uncomfortable with doing something in life, whether it's talking to a woman for the first time, talking to a guy asking for a date, proposing, or being a voice of advocacy. It's difficult. It's unfamiliar for people, but the more they do it, the better they get at it.
Yeah. So Jared raises a point that almost every single leader I've spoken to has talked about, and that is doing the hard thing. I just got done with an interview with Nick Freitas, and he talked about the exact same principles. When you are a leader, you have to do the hard thing. So if that's something you don't want to do, if you don't like doing the hard things, doing the uncomfortable things, then maybe leadership is not something that you should get into. But if you are in a leadership position, you know that you have to have those hard conversations. You have to make hard decisions. Sometimes the decisions that you make, people are not going to like. And that's okay, because as you are leading, it's not about you as the leader. It is about the organization that you serve. And there's another interview that's coming up in a couple weeks that I did with Isaac Botkin, and he talks about service and servant leadership. And almost every single interview I've done over the past month or so has talked about being a servant leader. So when you think about being a leader, you have to do the hard things. You have to serve the organization. You have to serve the people that you're working with and around. So as leaders, servant leadership, doing the hard thing, and benefit, your brain is really a muscle. Not a muscle like you're lifting weights muscle, but you get what I'm saying. Your brain is a muscle that you can exercise and strengthen. And I mentioned this again before, Andrew Huberman has a podcast that he talks about strengthening your mind and being able to do hard things. The more you do hard things, the easier it is for you to do that thing. So something that you may see as insurmountable today, if you continuously do it for the next month, you'll be like, oh yeah, I can do that, not a big deal. So do the hard thing because it makes you stronger, it makes you better, not just for you, but for the people that you lead as well.
And to take a leadership position and be a model where people can follow is huge, and that's what this is doing. So we're trying to teach men and women to be leaders so they can go out and do their own thing.
Be a model that others can follow. This is leadership to a T. As leaders, we are always training our replacements. We want to be the type of leader that other people look to and say, that's the correct way to do something. We don't want people to look at our leadership and say, man, that's the wrong way to do it, because we've all worked for those leaders, and what do we think about them? Exactly. That thing you're thinking right now? Exactly. You don't want to be that type of leader. You want to be the type of leader that's like, man, everybody wants to work for that guy, or everybody wants to work for that gal, because those are the leaders that get things done and lead their organizations well. We are always training our replacements. At some point, we're going to leave the position that we're in, and we want to leave it in good hands. So that's really up to us. As leaders, we are preparing the next generation to lead behind us. So what are we preparing them to do? And a lot of people get funny about this and they're like, oh, well, you know, they don't need to know everything. Yeah, they do. And I want you to think about leadership like parenting. You don't withhold information that you feel is valuable for your children. When it's time for them to learn something and they're maturing and growing, you absolutely give that to them because you want them to be successful. You not only want them to be successful, most parents want their kids to be better than them. That's the way to approach leadership in your business or organization. You want the people coming behind you to not only do as good of a job as you, but to do a better job than you so that your organization and they can flourish. And then finally, what would you like to be known for when you kind of leave the leadership role? What legacy would you like to leave?
Just somebody who loved the Constitution, loved what the forefathers died for, and hopefully taught enough people those values that the country, the republic, can continue on.
I think you've heard Jared mention this several times in the past just couple minutes, but engaging. As leaders, we need to engage. As leaders, we are not people who are riding the bench and waiting to get into the game. We are on the starting line. We are in the game all the time, whether we want to be or not, because as leaders, that's the position that we've put ourselves in. People are constantly looking for our leadership. And maybe they're not looking for our leadership vocally or actively, but somebody is always watching. So we need to engage. And how we engage is sometimes just as important as why we engage. So if you're engaging in something, maybe it's a hard conversation. Somebody's watching. Maybe you're having a difficult conversation with somebody who needs to be reprimanded. Well, maybe nobody's watching you right then and there, but the person that you're talking to is going to remember the conversation and the interaction that they have with you. So, what impression are you going to leave on them? Engaging in a way that builds rapport and allies, even in a conflict, is a very tricky skill to do. But if you can do it, man, you're constantly building allies. I remember back to my assistant principal days, and you know what the assistant principal does, right? Yes, they're in charge of discipline. So the number of kids that I suspended throughout my career, not that I'm proud of that number, but was a lot. And sometimes parents would be extremely irate with me because I was the one administering the discipline to their child. Whether it was me or somebody else, it didn't matter. I was the recipient of their anger. Now, there were some times where I could build rapport with those parents and say, hey, you know what? Yes, I know the little Johnny punched Jimmy in the face and it was unprovoked. So, yep, he's being suspended. I'm sorry about that. And then parents would just, sometimes fly off the handle and call me all sorts of names. And I would have to maintain my composure. Sometimes those parents would let down their guard just enough to let me say, hey, I know you're not really mad at me. What's going on? Like, is there something else? And oftentimes, parents would then turn this into a counseling session about them, not on purpose, but I was willing to go there. I was willing to engage in whatever it is that they needed. And then sometimes they would walk out and, say, Mr. Hendricks, thank you. I'm sorry about Johnny. I was just mad about something else and I took it out on you. I apologize. Now I had an ally for life because I took a bad situation and turned it into something good because I was willing to engage in a respectful way and my ego didn't get in the way. And as leaders, that's what we need to be able to do. So Jared's point about getting involved, being engaged as leaders, absolutely, that's what we need to do. Okay. And then a fun question.
Yeah.
I asked Nick Fritas the same one.
Yep.
How many takes do you take when you're doing your content?
Well, man, I've been doing this 11 years now, so I'm pretty good. I don't really script stuff. Like I'll run. I mean, I do use a teleprompter, but I just go off the cuff. Yeah. And I like to know what I'm talking about in advance, so I generally can do a 1 or 2 take thing. Okay. Or thanks to editing, I don't really do cinematic stuff. I can just do jump takes. So I usually can be from turning the record button on to sitting down and editing and get the final product out. I can usually bang out a video, in a couple hours now, start to finish, where it used to take me a day. All day? Yeah. I got you. Yeah. All right. Well, Jared, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. All right, brother. I appreciate you. Stay safe.
Have you ever wished that you could just pick up the phone and call an expert to help you work through your specific issues with you and your team? And not just find solutions to that one issue, but to help you create and implement structures and practices that will eliminate those issues in the future? all while being specifically tailored to you and your organization and your business. No online courses, no group Zoom meetings with people you don't know, just you and the expert. Well, that's what I do at People First Coaching and Consulting. If this is you, reach out to me with a message, or you can email me at todd@peoplefirstcoachingconsulting.com. Now, stick around for the bonus footage that we have with Jared off camera. And I heard you moved down to Tennessee. That's what he's trying to get me to do. I'm from Michigan.
Oh, do it. Like, I'm from Mass, dude.
No, I know.
This place, so I'll pitch it for him. The state, there's 3 distinct sections of the state. There's East Tennessee, West Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee. 3 distinctly different climates.
Yeah.
So in the East, we're in the mountains. You get 4 seasons. Doesn't get too crazy. A little bit of winter, like Massachusetts. Up north, we know what winter is.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah. There's no winter here. But it's gorgeous. You get a rainy season, get a hot season. In Middle Tennessee, you get up in that plateau area. The weather's totally different. You get a lot more winds, and the closer you get towards the West Tennessee side, now you're in like Tornado Alley, and there's all kinds of crazy weather out there. But if you love green, you love the mountains, you love hiking. Asheville is right over the mountain from Johnson City. Yeah. The Tri-Cities area, there's like 500,000 people in that radius, but the 3 Tri-Cities themselves aren't cities.
Right.
Like they're small, and there's still room. There's still land available. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful area. And then the taxes coming from Massachusetts, just the tax difference, it's like a 30% raise.
Yeah. He told me what his property taxes are, and in Michigan, I'm paying my property tax over $5,000 a year for my house.
Yeah, same.
And he's paying like less than $1,000.
Less than $1,000. Yeah. In Mass, I was paying $6,800, and it was $1,300.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that like?
Is that right?
Every 6 months? Is that quarterly? No, that's the year. I'm like, can I pay 10 years in advance?
Right. Yeah. Again, I'd like to thank Jared for taking time out of his busy speaking schedule at the Goals Conference to do this interview with me. Please check out his channel, Guns and Gadgets, for more Second Amendment news and law information. You will not be disappointed.